Go.
Hey guys, I'm David Byers. Welcome to my channel. I am a wood turner and I like to take unusual pieces of wood and blend epoxy resin with it, pigmented with different colors, to create unique bowls, vases, platters, and similar items. So today I have this hollowed out, let's just say rotted out, piece of green walnut that I have cut into rings in the past and just wondered, what in the world am I going to do with this? I mean, I could take it and just drop it in a bucket and pour epoxy and make a bowl out of that. Well, that would make a bowl, but that'd be kind of boring. So I had this other piece that I had broken, and then I cut the edges off, and I got to thinking, well, what if I cut similar pieces like this and I create a pattern in the bucket and see what that will make for us. So that's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to take this green walnut out to my bandsaw and I'm going to section it intentionally to fit together inside this bucket and see what kind of unusual pattern that we can make. So this is going to be the story that we're going to go with. This is a piece from the inside with the green walnut. It's pretty wood, but this is going to be unusual with this that's basically rotted on the inside and the bark that I'm going to leave in place most likely this time. So let's tell this story and see where we're going to get. I'm heading out to the bandsaw now. See you there. Okay, so here we are. We are 14 hours later, and I'm going to, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to hit the camera. I'm going to try to inject the white into the bucket. It's already more set inside the bucket than what I wanted, so this may not work, but let's try it. Let's see what happens. I may not be able to inject the white into it just because it's going to be too hard to force it in, but I'm going to give it a try. I don't want to stir it because I'm looking for separation of color. So let's go with that. And as you can see, this idea just did not work. So I tried to squirt a little bit out, removing the tube, and that still wouldn't work. So what was left in the syringe, well, you know what? That turned into wine stoppers a little bit later. So, sometimes it doesn't work. If you're not failing from time to time, you're not pushing the envelope. You just have to keep on trying. Oh well. So here you can see this is what we look like as we have separated it from the bucket. The white that we tried to incorporate is just on the top. There's a couple of places where it tried to come in, where I was using one of the popsicle sticks trying to force it down. The tube just wasn't able to make it because it had become too much of a gel and too little bit of a liquid. So that's 2 times in a row I've tried to inject like that, and 2 times in a row that it's failed. But if you're not failing, you're not trying, right? So anyway, I'm gonna look at this. The pattern that we have with that green walnut, with that pretty rainbow blue or sapphire blue color, it's gonna be a outstanding bowl when we get finished. So I'm gonna take it out to the shop. I'm gonna use my angle grinder and roughen this up and make it very flat so I can attach my waste block, and then we will get it on the lathe and we will turn this bowl. I do think that even though this didn't work out the way we wanted it to, it's going to be pretty darn good when we get through. All right, I'll see you guys out there in just a little bit. So I hope you've placed your goggles on, because we're going to have a little bit of a snowstorm here. While we trim up the outside of the bowl, we want everything to be perfectly balanced before we do anything to the inside. I did decide that this would be a really good opportunity to take a core from this bowl, even if it is a small core. It has a lot of character. It's going to look really good. You'll see here I'm measuring 5 inches from the estimated thickness of the base for where I established the positioning for the coring mechanism. The secret to coring is just go slow. You want to make sure that the pressure you use is according to the speed that the bowl is turning so it doesn't bog down. And we want to make sure that everything stays stable the whole time. It curves on its way in until the bowl itself will eventually separate. And then when it separates, you'll see that I'm going to clean up the inside just a little bit. and then I'm going to reverse the small inner bowl so that I can turn the bottom of it, making it flat, making it easier to attach a small waste block to that one in the future. The advantage of coring is basically you get two out of one. Instead of having the waste and throwing away the inner portion as just a bunch of shavings that's going to go in the trash, we get to make another small bowl out of this. Here comes another snowstorm, so get those goggles back on. I'm going to sit back and be quiet for a little bit, let you just watch as we shape this bowl. So I'm still roughing it out here with a Hercules, has that #3 cutter on it. Does a really good job to get that initial shape. And then many times I'll come back and I'll touch that up with a small round carbide cutter. This time I'm actually going ahead and I'm using a high speed stainless steel 1-inch flat edge scraper just to smooth up the outside. The smoother that we make it now, the easier the sanding is going to be a little bit further down the road. You will see here that when I start out turning the inside of the bowl, I like to use this small round carbide cutter to help guesstimate the thickness that I want the base to be. So you'll see I'm turning on the inside in the very center. I use that cutter, that small cutter, and it's easy for me to place it on the inside, measure, and then guesstimate where the thickness of the base is going to be before coming back to the Hercules to hollow out the rest of the inside. You know, the one thing that we never want to do as a wood turner, and I'm sure we've all done it, is turn all the way through the bottom of the bowl so we have that gaping hole in the bottom. Never want to have that happen. That makes for a sad day when it does. Thanks for the tunes, Nathan. I hope you guys enjoyed that. So we've added the paste, and doesn't it look shiny? But now we have to remove the remainder, the residual of the paste. So we're using golden grain. A lot of people use denatured alcohol, but denatured alcohol is just ethyl alcohol, and golden grain or Everclear gets the job done quite well. The shiny that I use is the Tung Oil High Gloss from Waterlux, and it certainly does create a very nice finish, and this one's not going to disappoint us in any way whatsoever. Placing the tung oil does create several challenges. You want to have the lathe speed slow enough so that you can control the placement of the tung oil as it's going on. You want to place it wet. You want to use a lint-free cloth. Usually I'm using old cut up t-shirts that have been washed so many times that they're going to have very little lint coming through. If you place it accordingly, you're going to see you're going to get a nice, smooth, even finish, and this really wakes it up. Fact is, this is so shiny you can see the letters from my t-shirt in the reflection of the bowl. Now we're going to come back and we're going to separate the bowl from the waste block. You can see that I'm truing up the bottom just a little bit as I'm doing this as well, using my separating instrument. This takes a very controlled cut. You want to make sure that you're creating a concave surface on the bottom of the bowl. You don't want it to be convex because you don't want it to roll. You don't want it to wobble when it's sitting on a countertop. So I'm cutting into it just a little bit to create that concave surface. Once I get it close, then I can pop it away because it's just held on with hot melt glue. And then I can come back and I can true up the bottom. You can see here that I have reversed the bowl. I've got it connected onto my lathe um, with a vacuum chuck that's holding it in position. And then I'm using a very light touch to make sure that it doesn't grab and pop off the vacuum chuck as I'm going to turn the bottom, smooth it up, and then here in just a little bit, we're going to be putting a name on it and then adding some shiny to the bottom, and then we can close out the procedure. This bowl's gone pretty well. I'm really excited to show you guys what the final product looks like. So just in case you guys are curious, the purpose for me to place that level on the bottom of the bowl was so I could actually see if it was a concave surface that I had created. Now we're going to come back and we're going to sand the bottom before adding the paste, the Yorkshire grit, to make it very smooth. When I'm sanding, I usually start around 80 and I work my way all the way up to 400 when I'm sanding the bottom of the bowl. For the top, I'm usually going to 600, but 400 is certainly enough for the bottom. And you'll see I'm taking it through smooth, even finish from 80 all the way up to 400 so that we can come back and we can apply the paste here in just a little bit, make it nice and shiny. And then after the paste, you're going to see we're going to use the golden grain again, and we want to remove the triply containing paste so that it's not going to interfere with the tung oil that we're going to place last in any way whatsoever. So you'll see here in just a little bit we're going to place the golden grain, and then we will come back after this and we will put a name on this bowl and we will close it out and talk about it. Okay, so let's close this one out, guys. So, yes, we've had a challenge this week. This bowl pushed me at several different points with the epoxy setting up faster than I wanted it to and not being able to blend in the white and the gold the way that I wanted to. and just picking up a little bit of white at the top. You know, it's not what I had originally planned, but I'm really pleased with how things turned out. Looking at the wood itself that was rotted in the middle and could not be used for anything else. And we found a way to use it, and we found a way to use it with purpose. So I'm tickled with this. I'm going to bring you in closer. Let's go over the bowl in detail to close this week out. So as you can see here, this bowl is shiny. The tung oil does give it a very shiny finish. My wife fusses at me about that because she's the one who's usually taking the photographs, and she says it's too shiny for good photographs. So she has to hit it with the proper amount of light. Anyway, I just wanted you to see up in close detail the variations in color that we have between the laywood and the heartwood, and the bark that is included on the outside, and the blue color of epoxy that we chose, and just this little white rim up at the top. To me, this just looks like we're looking at an ocean floor that's rocky and craggy, and we can see the ocean with that little bit of surf up at the top as well, crashing against these rocks, as we've got multiple layers for it to work through. And that leads right into the name that we chose. We chose Surfs Up. One thing that I didn't share with you before, I've always referred to this wood as green walnut before. I've been informed that it is actually butternut walnut. And so that's what I've named it as appropriately. And I like that name because I do think it has a butternut appearance to it. So anyway, could not be more pleased with how this bowl turned out. It's got so much going on with the color variations and with how the wood laid out, with the pattern that was created and the symmetry that's there, even with the asymmetry to give it purpose. Sticking to it, we've created a beautiful final product. So once again, I thank you guys for hanging in there with me. I'm glad that you could enjoy this process with me today. I really love to create something, especially when you start out with something that is not much, and then you can turn it into something of this nature, something that hopefully in the future this is going to be sitting in someone's home, and it's going to be a conversation piece. So when people come over, they're going to look, they're going to say, what is that? And then whoever buys this bowl from me can talk to them and say, well, that's what this is. So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed the process. I hope that you will give me a thumbs up for the video this week, challenge that it was, and I do hope that you'll subscribe to my channel so you can see more videos like this in the future. Thanks again.